because of men like you that all must be destroyed. None of those risks have been seen, at least not by anyone who still remains alive. None of those risks have been seen, at least not by anyone who still remains alive.
That's our brain treatment we're giving to you. You are a robot, that's all you are. Better not change your mind. You just better not.
10,
Better not change your mind. You just better not.
8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh, hi! Welcome to another exciting episode of Tangents, where we answer the following question: how many times do I have to say before people understand that I don't know what I'm talking about? So yes, welcome to Tangents, the only show on the internet that talks about music gear, hands down, period. No arguments there. Only one. Period. We are groundbreaking here. Not only do we feature Billie Eilish randomly, who she shows up, but we are also the only people that do what we do. I'm Andrew from beautiful Cleveland, Ohio at Ick Studios. Welcome. I'm glad everyone is here. Thank you for coming. It is freezing cold outside tonight, and I love it because I hate summer.
Which is a popular sentiment, Andrew. I think.
In my world, which revolves around me. With me tonight is, of always, my fellow musical co-conspirators and original people, and 100% really human and not at all androids. Das Christoph, welcome back to your lair. How are you? It's good to see you. I agree. For some reason, I don't have your audio. I know, right? Let's see what's wrong here. Let's try that. Now there's me.
Now
This is why no one watches us. Dear God. All right, try again. Yep.
Can you hear
Everyone else talk?
How about now? Now.
All right, cool. Can't hear anybody else. God, they've switched everything around again. She's tidied up and I can't find anything. And careful looks.
That's the worst.
All right, Jeff, talk. All right, we got Jeff.
It's me.
We got Christoph.
Maybe.
All right, let me work on getting Justin signed up here. Justin, talk.
Would have us both.
Why is there two Christophs now on my screen?
Yeah. Because more is better. I have taken over for Jester. Soon all will be assimilated. Soon all will be assimilated. I am the Agent Smith of Tangents. I am the Agent Smith of Tangents.
One Christoph is several seconds behind the other one.
Coming up, Christoph. Everything is coming up, Christoph.
Oh my God, this is so fucking
Despite-
confusing.
Despite
Man, you're in rare form today, Christoph. I'm very much enjoying it.
Thank you.
All right, I think everyone
You know
can.
why?
Everyone's
Because
talking
I'm no
now.
longer being tortured by the summer heat.
I think everyone's live now. I think I fixed it. Every week.
John Haynes says you can hear me twice. Twice is more better.
It's twice
I don't know
as
if
good.
any of you folks.
I'm only 20 seconds into the future.
If you read any of the Discworld series, the Terry Pratchett series, but
It's all turtles.
there are these troll characters, and they were like really slow and sluggish, and then they realized that they were only slow because they were at like a normal sort of operating temperature. But when they got really, really cold, their brains kicked on, and they were perfectly.
Yes.
That's how we are. So, Christoph, how are you?
I am fine.
Good.
I've had a enjoyable Halloween. I didn't have to DJ this Halloween, and I am DJing in 2 weeks at the Unconvention in New Jersey.
Ooh, congratulations. New Jersey's a hell of a city. State.
Yes.
City-state. Nation-state.
Place. Thing.
Yes. Yes.
That's awesome. I'm glad. John Haynes has requested that you twitch your head a bit to one side to complete the max headroom effect, please. Good enough.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah. Got it.
All right, cool. Thank you. Appreciate that. Also, of course, is Jeff. How are you?
Hello.
Good. What's
I'm
new and
doing well,
exciting?
thank you. Let's see. Halloween was cool. Halloween's fun. I found I shared this with Christoph too. I found there's a new DJ controller that just came out that is very reasonably priced. I DJ'd a long time ago for extreme metal station online, and I've been thinking about starting doing more like DJ streams. So I picked one of those up, and it should hopefully be here eventually. I don't know. Apparently tracking numbers don't make any sense anymore. So it says it will arrive sometime. I don't know.
It's a Super 6. Isn't
Pandemics are weird. And it's been cool because I haven't rearranged anything down here at all in like a month. I have it just
Excellent.
operating, and it's really nice. That's about
Excellent.
it.
You put up a new song recently too.
I did put up a new song. This song is a generous title for it. It's just sort of like a
You put up a new
feeling
tone
thing,
poem.
but it's I've been doing. That's right. It's a tone poem. That's a very elegant description of it. I did the RPM challenge, which is record production month last year, and then because I'm a glutton for punishment, they rolled that into REM, which is record every month, and so it's make a song every month, and so this
That's
is my
awesome.
this month's song.
Congratulations.
It's a good time.
And congratulations on
That's
not
very
having
cool.
to move anything around in your studio. Once you get that DJ controller, I'm looking forward to you having to move things around your studio again, as I'm sure you are.
Oh, I have plans for that DJ controller already. I have a currently unused, extremely shitty keyboard
good.
controller on wheels, and several pieces of wooden IKEA shelving. And I think also, this is about to get very high tech, a tablecloth. And so my plan for this DJ gear and the stream setup that I'm going to be doing is I'm going to put the IKEA shelf on the very terrible keyboard tray, lay the tablecloth on top of it, hiding all of the sins, and
That's
then
perfect.
roll it out when I need it.
Magic.
It's going to be very low tech.
Any significantly advanced technology is indistinguishable from table.
That's right. But it's pretty cool. It's it doesn't require a computer, which I'm into. So it's like it runs everything off
That's
of an
awesome.
SD card. That's kind of neat.
Cool.
I'm looking forward to your first DJ stream.
Yeah, it's going to be nothing but scratch. Just 2 hours. Not a song in sight.
That's all we need. Thank you. That's perfect, Christoph. And of course, last but certainly always least, just kidding, is Justin, live from Chicago. It's Justin. How are you? That's good.
I'm well. I'm
What's
well-ish.
newish?
Yeah. I also had a good
Good.
Halloween, which is obviously my favorite holiday and went pretty well. Yeah. Working on music again. Got a couple apartments things that
Sweet.
I'm about ready to ship off to you. Also, finally sort of started another sort of concept project. So that's
Excellent.
pretty cool too. Yeah. Other than that, not much. Thought about selling all my gear and replacing it with an Atari and EMU Orbit rack mount unit, but I abandoned that idea. And
Well, that's
the huge.
you always have to go through those tough decisions like that.
Yeah, well, it's just like
Yeah.
no new things, right? I can't have new things until
That's
I get
true.
rid of old.
I
So,
understand. I'm kind of like not even bothered looking at much of anything that's new except for the show. The cool thing about doing this show is that
Yeah,
like
this-
I get so picky about things now that I don't want to buy anything. So it's been great.
Yep.
Yeah. I will say there was one thing on our item today that is really starting to piss me off because it's looking so fucking cool.
Well, we'll have to talk about that in just a little bit, I guess. Huh? Yeah, I played on Saturday for Halloween. Did a live stream here, which was a lot of fun. Part of the Golden Shrimp Guild. We did Monster Roll was what it was called. So that was good time.
Nice.
I'm playing in Pittsburgh in 2 weeks. I'll be in beautiful, sunny Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, for 2 nights at an art show. So I'm going to be doing 2 different styles of music, I think. I'm working on a track right now for it, a track that's going to be a half hour long, because that's how I roll. I will bore everybody to death with my Witch House track that I'm working on.
Nice.
I'm bringing the Deluge, the Peak, and the Octatrack.
Wow.
Yes. I think those are... I'm surprised how well the Octatrack and the Deluge complement each other.
Cool.
Because what the Deluge lacks as far as like loop control and stuff like that, and doing really good like sample mangling and stuff like that, the Octatrack is just built for that kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
So it's been a lot of fun, that little setup. I can fit all on one stand, and it's just a blast.
You know, I would argue that if you needed like a desert island synth, I think the Peak would be towards the top of the list, man. That's a pretty versatile badass.
I agree,
keyboard.
and I try to do as much for my own programming as possible, but once in a while I come across sound packs that just blow my mind. And the guy who does the Boards of Deluge sound packs, which are phenomenal, very rich, very beautiful, very organic sounding weird shit, put out a sound pack for the Peak that is just, it does things that I didn't think the Peak could do, kind of thing. You know, everything suddenly sounds like it's all warbly and gross and like, you know, Boards of Canada sounding. And he came up with a nice sound pack for that, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna give that a try. And it's just the right amount of spookiness that I need for doing this like witch house stuff and everything.
Nice.
So it's been pretty slick, and it's also kind of fun because I can go through and kind of take it apart and see how he's doing those things, so I can teach myself as well to make things better. So yeah, nice. So that's what I got going on here. What's going on in the world? Well, all kinds of important things that are going on in the world. For instance, Behringer is cloning the DFAM.
Oh, crikey. That wasn't on our list.
It is. It's the first thing on our list.
Bam. It's on there.
It's on there, son.
Oh, it's at the top.
But it's in hot pink, so it's different.
Sorry, you guys were spamming it with creepy Scooby-Doo memes, and I didn't pay attention.
Yeah.
So glad. So yeah, the Behringer is coming out with the Edge, is what they're calling it. I'm sure the Edge from U2 is contacting his lawyers even as we speak. And
maybe it's a partnership.
I think so. I could see that happening. So it's a semi-modular percussion synth. Has dual VCOs, just like the DFAM, with pulse and triangle waves, oscillator sync, and FM. And it has the dual row 8-step sequencer, just like the DFAM. And it supposedly has comprehensive MIDI implementation, which the DFAM does not have MIDI. It's all just control voltage. So yeah, that's going on with the Behringer Edge.
It does improve upon the DFAM as far as I can tell in one key area.
What's that? Besides
those
MIDI?
knobs on whatever matter the knobs. It's the knobs on the velocity and pitch for the DFAM. They're not even knobs. They're just like the stems that knobs attach to.
Yes, they are
on the actual DFAM,
yeah, no, I agree.
And they are insultingly bad.
The good news is, though, is you can buy the Edge if you want to, or you can just go on to, I think it's DJ Tech Tools, and you can get knobs that will fit over those little stems and give you better knobs.
It's true. I do think for $600, Moog could have included another 86 cents worth of knobs for me.
Yeah, you know.
But, you know.
Yeah, I mean, what is this guy, 219 USD?
Yeah,
I mean, it is an abomination. It should not exist.
Yeah, it's a pretty ugly thing.
At the same time, if you're looking for a hot pink synth, now there's one available.
that really is like the Behringer tax applied to this thing, right? Like there's, in a lot of cases, there's stuff it tries to look like something else. And so people, I've seen people legitimately like covering up the Behringer logos with stickers and things like that. And they're like, no, you're going to own that this one's Behringer.
It's hot fucking pink, bitches. Well, it's just like their 303 clones now. They come in like all sorts of fruity flavors.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's like a starburst of a packet of starburst or jujubes of different colors as far as that thing is concerned.
Those must not be selling well either, because the colored ones are always less money than the silver and black ones.
That's true.
Too.
I think the silver and black, the yellow ones are also, I think, are good sellers too.
Huh.
Because I see a lot of folks that have the yellow ones.
If you're making acid house, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, plus it's got the smiley face on it and all that kind of stuff as well.
Well, that's the symbol of that whole movement.
Exactly. It's just kind of like the old G3 IMAX. Which one sold the best, which one sold the worst, which color. As a matter of fact, the plastic shell on those Behringer units might be recycled old G3 iMac cases.
Man, I love the G3 IMAX.
Those
I love the aesthetics.
I think that
It's
Go ahead, Christoph. What's that?
it's my belief that what Yuli Behringer is going for is he's upset that he, for the records that he has, that he doesn't have the record for ugliest synth, and he wants to just throw in the Waldorf Orange synth. So, bam.
That's true. The
Waldorf Orange is
and this way people will hate this more than the disastrous Orange Waldorf. And I think he's going to win. He's going to take home the prize.
I think so, but I mean, also the Studio Logic Sledge was also pretty hideous in that taxi cab yellow. John Haynes says,
wasn't there a mofo that was too?
What's that?
Wasn't there a mofo that was also like taxi cab?
The original
yellow?
mofo. Yeah, the original mofo was bright yellow.
Yeah,
I had the mofo keyboard, and it's the same gosh darn color. Yeah.
Yellow and black kind of go together. They give you a good like honeybee vibe at this.
Yeah,
nope.
This is just heinous.
Hey, I stole this synth from Miami Vice. Yeah,
I made this out of Crockett and Tubbs.
Well, I don't think they're not gonna recolor it, because what's the other one, the Crave? I don't think they ever rebrand that one, did they? It's like a solid whatever
black,
color it is.
Yeah, it's yellow.
Is it yellow? Oh, okay. So now you got two colors that don't match at all to put next to each other.
That's why you'll know it's not. Oh, this isn't a Crave. It's obviously the D-Fan ripoff.
It's the Bono. I mean the Edge. Yeah, you're right. John Haynes, which color G3 sold the best? Then the answer is Bondi Blue.
Yeah, which was my favorite. So
second one was Flower Power, which was part of the second generation G3 iMacs. Although I'm more of a G4 iMac fan myself, I really like how that looked.
Yeah, I like the accompaniment laptop.
Oh, those look like toilet seats?
Yeah, my dad had one of those, and I thought it was like a prop from the Jetsons when he,
I still have. I don't collect computers because I work with them all the time, but I did find and kept a G4 Cube, and I still have that.
Oh, those were cool. I had one of the white lamps. The
G4
ones.
iMac. Yeah, those are beautiful. Those were gorgeous.
I had that for a long time.
Those were those I think are still my favorite design as far as the iMacs are concerned. Christoph, what's your favorite Mac?
So I don't know.
So it's the round one. It looked like it was like a cylinder. I don't know what
the trash can.
The trash can.
That's what I have here in the studio.
Yeah. Probably. So maybe that one, but also those. I think it was the G4 Max. It looked like a big silver and glass box. It had parts that came out on each edge that kind of kept it off the floor.
Oh, that's the G4. That's a G4 Cube. Yep.
Is it a cube? I thought it was. All right. Well, probably that one.
Yep. I have one of those in the other room. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, I like the Darth Vader's bidet or whatever that one is that you have.
The cube or the trash can rather.
Yeah. No. Yeah, trash can.
So John Haynes,
I still have my Apple
there you
IIe. That is the only Apple.
The original Macintosh was also pretty. So John Haynes posted this picture that you can't see at all. So there you go. It is a Behringer amplifier and there's a sticker underneath that says "Deal with it." So,
I mean, I'm not going to dismiss this thing out of hand. It's fine, you know. I mean, to be totally honest, I never really got along with the DFAM in the first place. So a knockoff of it is even less appealing to me personally. But yeah, it'll make some people happy, and for 219.
yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking as well. I mean, some folks are going to dig it. Some people will buy it. That's cool. It's Behringer, so we can. Oh, that was Calliope, not John Haynes. Sorry. Yeah, it's Behringer, so people they're controversial. They're going to divide people's opinions and stuff like that. That's what they do. That's part of their marketing, I think, at this point anymore. Is we're going to do things to deliberately piss off half of synth fans, and it's going to make the other half happy.
I've seen people saying that they're the edgelords of the synth world, and I think that's pretty much true.
Yeah, watch that channel. You know, I'm not if you think about it, you know, they're an international company, and if you hate Americans, then yeah, you would want to buy Behringer products over, you know, Moog products.
Yeah.
Well, I don't hate Americans, but I am afraid of them.
I'm afraid of the world.
That.
Yes. I'm afraid I can't help it.
This is good. We should take this on the.
Yeah. Somebody could make a song out of that.
Totally.
I think people would love it.
Somebody.
I don't know. I feel kind of weird with them knocking off stuff that's in production. Like currently in production stuff feels weird to me and kind of icky.
It's terrible in the world. I absolutely agree.
I'm not into that. And you know, if Roland, for instance, doesn't want to bring back an analog 808, great, go make an analog 808. Nobody cares. Like Roland, you've had 40 years. If you were going to do it, you've had like ample opportunity and then some to jump on it. But that it feels kind of gross to just knock off stuff that's existing to me.
I think that's the thing that's kind of shitty. And like I understand that they're making it cheaper. They're making it quote unquote, you know, more affordable to everybody. But then you got like their ripoff of the Arturia. What was that? What's that?
The key step.
Which was like,
yeah, and that was another terrible move that just earned them ill will
yeah,
around
it was the same
world
exact design
and made them an impossible.
Yeah, the
defense
exact
company.
same price, and it was just like you guys are just fucking assholes now, you know. And I think that's the thing.
Yep, that was just the dick move. Whereas, knocking off old Roland synths. I mean, the president of Roland at the time before he passed had said we will never re-release these synths, so that made it fair game. And a lot of these other synths from yesteryear, I mean, nobody's going to bring those back. You know, those companies are long gone.
Yeah.
Still power. But you know, your competitors' current products, now you're just being a douche.
Yeah.
Calliope. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. I was going to say the same thing. Go for it.
Calliope says, well, I have mixed feelings about the knockoff. On the one hand, they can undercut it that much. What's to say about the markup? On the other hand, I'm happy to pay more to support the wages, etc. I think that the biggest difference is that, well, Behringer has their Music City complex in China that's busting this stuff out like crazy. Moog is literally hand making these things. I've been to the Moog factory. I've seen these people, you know, working their butts off on hand soldering each and every one of these units. They're not being mass produced like they could, like Behringer does. So Behringer is undercutting simply by, you know, doing cheap labor and, you know, cheap parts and everything like that. And so
but also having a real, you know, automated
factory. An automated factory line
and owning their own ship company. So, I mean, they just have such more means.
And they're not doing any R&D because they're just reverse engineering what Moog did.
Yes.
And you know,
that's
think
exactly
about the price, the cost it cost for them to design that unit. I'm pointing at my DFAM because it's in front behind the camera. But yeah, Calliope, Moog is based in Asheville, North Carolina, which is a great city. Go and visit; it's fun.
Well, I have to correct one thing. So Behringer does do their own research and development, but obviously not on all their products.
Right.
But other products, they're absolutely
right.
On
oh yeah, yeah.
But this was just a terrible move, as was the key step.
And the Mother 32 knockoff. Which one was that? The Neutron or the Crave?
That's the Crave. The Neutron is an original synth, and power to them for making it, and it's an example of their R&D.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
When they make original stuff, it's not that bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wish they would do.
Their quality control is not great, and their customer service is like
Non-existent.
comically
Yeah.
poor. But
Well,
yeah.
And actually, I can defend the Vogue as well, because at the time, Moog wasn't putting out a small mini
Right.
Moog clone.
That's
You know,
that's fair
so
too.
That's
Well, they had just
defendable.
finished
Yeah.
the production of the limited edition mini Moog that they did put out around that time. Like they had discontinued it,
Yeah,
and then
but those two things are not
No,
really
no, they're
comparable either. So,
Well, it's crazy.
it's
I mean,
fine that they
that
put out
listed
Yeah.
it for like 3,500, which was really reasonable considering what the secondhand market was.
Yeah.
And you knew it was in good condition, and it had
Yeah.
friggin' MIDI.
Yep.
But now, if you look now, selling those MFOs
yeah.
for $6,000-$7,000. That probably would have been a good thing to buy. And I remember when we were at MoFest, and it was almost like I had a semi sort of what passes in my world for
Yeah.
a religious experience, because I'd never actually played on a mini Moog. And I just sat there with the headphones for
Yep.
an hour and a half. And they emulated everything, even the shitty mod
Yeah.
wheel and everything.
I think that was also cool because
But,
that's when we saw Bernie Worrell like getting wheeled up to one of those things and like jamming in the middle of the store. And then like he passed away like a month later. And we were just like, whoa, that was pretty crazy.
Sure. Yeah, which is very sad. I would argue that one of the best Moog or synth bass lines that could ever
Absolutely.
be made.
It was also fascinating though, Justin, to watch you play a mini Moog with your erection. That was pretty amazing.
And then he references, "Hey, everybody, want to see my Milton Berle?"
Well, I was scooched under
Yeah,
the table.
it's just the right
and you know
height.
how it is. And
That's
has a
true.
keen eye for these things.
Hey,
so.
that's not your finger. So yeah, the Behringer knockoff called the Edge. Yep, $219.
Like if you really
Yep.
gotta have it, you can get it, but people are gonna look at you poorly because this
Yeah,
is another big
absolutely. Moving on, Sonicware, our friends over at Sonicware, released the Liven Bass and Beat synth. And speaking of uglies, this thing is painted up to look like a synthwave fever dream. No offense, synthwave fans. I'm looking at you, Jeff.
It's so good.
It's
so
so-
good bad. It's exactly the right kind of terrible.
It's also channeling like that 90s like
Oh,
Sonic
yeah.
Fismo, like just bad choices of pink and
Or the
blue and stuff.
Oh
Is
man,
Miguel still alive? Is this thing only visible under blacklight?
Yeah,
it is. It's like if somebody gave Lisa Frank and the Trapper Keeper people the mandate to make a synth, and they're like, just go for it. This is what Lisa Frank would have made for sure.
Yeah,
It's
I
awful.
mean, this thing
Yeah,
is
well,
actually pretty
Sonicware
mental,
stuff
too.
has
Like,
been crazy.
yeah.
They're a pretty young Japanese synth manufacturer, and everything they've put out is in this very similar form factor. But they all sound really weird, and they all do really cool shit. And they're all in this kind of like this lo-fi kind of thing going on. Whoa, we just got raided by Actitect. Thank you for the raid, Actitect. Welcome, raiders.
Woo.
Hope you enjoyed
Thank you,
Actitect's
Actitect.
awesome music. We're
Yeah.
going to bore the shit out of you by talking about music gear.
But it's really like
It is.
very
So we're
cyan and
cur-
magenta.
So Raiders, we're currently talking
Music
about the
gear, so,
Sonicware
I mean-
Live and Bass and Beats, which is mighty bright and pretty neon, and sounds weird. It's a kind of a wavetable synth as well as many other things. Yeah, this thing is just bizarre.
I mean, yeah, I like it. I mean, because this is kind of how I felt about Teenage Engineering when they first came out, or companies like Basel, because it's like they're just making these weird little things that are so niche, but they're
Yeah.
cool. And maybe you jive with it, maybe you don't, but it's original and it's creative and it's funky and cool.
Yeah,
And it's cheap. It's
What
real
was
cheap.
it? Yeah, on this.
I mean, I don't know
This
how much
$200
this one
bucks?
is, but their other stuff's like $200.
Yep.
Yeah, this
No,
one's
There's
Okay.
also
Yeah.
there's also
There you
they're also
go.
coming out with a regular version of it with just black and white keys, but that's the limited edition version. If you just want to buy the general release, it's going to come in pink and blue and heinous.
So the Henry Ford edition is you got
Yes.
to pay extra.
That's a hell of a marketing plan. It's like, hey, we're gonna make this thing. How abominable can we possibly make it? We can make it very abominable, guys, but we will charge you extra for one that doesn't look like it got dressed in the dark.
Oh my god,
I love it.
that is great. Yeah, this is synthwave.
It really
glitter rave
is.
all
So
over
it's
it.
got
great.
so
I
it's,
love it.
from the technical standpoint. So it's got a wavetable synth engine in it for your bass. It's 2 independent wavetable oscillators with 32 available wavetables. It has a sub oscillator and a noise generator. And it's got 1 LFO, an envelope generator, unison control, multimode filter, and distortion effects. Then it's got looks like drum samples built into it as well. So you've got your beats with your bass and beats, 150 high quality rhythm sounds carefully selected for the modern and timeless compositions. It's such a Japanese thing to say. I love that. The modern and timeless.
And you know it's gonna sound like a DR550 because
yeah.
it's the only thing it could
yeah.
possibly sound like looking like this.
And then it's also got preset drum kits as well. Well balanced.
You did that so well, Andrew. I think I want that Abroad in Japan guy. To
Oh
review
yeah,
this.
right.
Do you
Chris
think you
Broad.
could-
Oh my God, totally. It's got a sidechain compressor. That's kind of cool. It's got the little compression action built into the thing. And it's got these, it's got some assignable knobs. You can do like quick muting and unmuting for each of the drum sounds. It's got little mixer controls. This is a little drum and bass box thing that's $200. I mean, I'm kind of curious about it.
I
At
kind
that
of like
price-
how they. Yeah, I like how they mounted the control stuff up on top. That's kind of interesting. Like they've got the MIDI and
Yeah, no, I agree.
the sync.
And they're full size MIDI connectors, which makes me happy.
Yeah, man, MIDI DIN for life.
Fuck USB, right in its butthole.
Yeah, I don't need any ground loops.
no.
I've got enough shit like
J
that.
underscore A E underscore K. Thanks for the follow. I appreciate it. That's his full name. Their full name. Apologies. So yeah, the Sonic Wear, that's coming out next year. I think they're doing pre-orders right now for an estimated ship date for the pre-orders in February, and general sales are going to begin in May of 2022, which is kind of like the let's hope they get there kind of thing. It's kind of funny. I was here we go off on the tangent. So I was reading up on the Synthstrum forums, because I was just like, hey, I wonder what's going on, because they haven't really sent out any newsletters, and for a while they're going hardcore and like sending out newsletters and status updates on their next firmware and everything, and then like just crickets. And of course people complain on the internet about that because that's what people do. So I just went on the forum, and sure enough, like 4 days ago they had posted this whole thing about like, there's two guys that pretty much run Synthstrum. Rohan, who's the crazy mad scientist that develops everything, and then Ian's kind of like the PR guy. And Ian was just like, yeah, I filmed all these previews of everything, and Rohan didn't want me to put it up, but I decided it would be good for us to do it. And that was like a year ago, and we're still working on the firmware, and it's not done. He's like, so I feel like I really Behringered this up. And I love that he turned Behringer into a verb. And that's what Behringer does, right?
You become verved. Wow.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Well, no, you have to have a splashy, like 25-second, demo of some piece of garbage, proof of concept shell, and then you got to go dark for go.
Well, that's kind of what they're doing
entire
right now. I mean, then he apologized for it. I mean, he was going like apeshit crazy with doing things like Synthstrum TV, and he was doing all these like live kind of things on the internet, and they're previewing the next firmware and all that stuff. And then he got burnt out. Literally, he was just like, and he got tired of people like sending him comments, why isn't the new firmware out yet? And he just kind of like shut off. He's like, I just need to take time away from it. and like he took a vacation, and then like the Synthstrom TV didn't load correctly, and he just let it go because he's just like, I can't think about this right now, because I mean these guys have been working nonstop. There's literally 6 people that work for Synthstrom, you know, and the fact that they put out such an amazing instrument with just 6 people just blows my mind to this day.
Yep, I was part of the what were they? They had a clever name for those festivals. It was something like
Yeah,
I don't know,
yeah.
Do It Together Alone or something like that. And I was part of the one that they did the big release on that firmware, and everybody was like losing their mind about it. And they're like, "When is it going to come out?" They're like,
Yep.
"Oh, it's January."
Yeah.
That was in November of last year. And the way that even then, it seemed really cool, but the way the Deluge is, I mean, some of the firmware stuff that they were talking about seems like it was getting pretty rarefied for what that device is.
Yeah, being able to do like the Euclidean stuff, and like they're doing like the wavetable, the custom wavetabling, and all that other things, and then some of the other weird stuff they're demoing on how it's going to work, and it's going to be great, but it's just going to take time, you know. And people don't understand. They think it's this shit's easy, and considering that they're programming it on like these microcontrollers, which are not the fastest things in the world. This thing does not have FPGA in it, and it shows. You know, you just gotta chill out. Let them do their thing. Enjoy the instrument because it's still a kick-ass instrument, even without the latest firmware.
Yeah, actually, I'm kind of concerned. I was, when I was seeing the demos of it and everything I've read about it, I was actually really considering just not loading it, because I'm wondering if it's going to be sort of like more than the device should have on it.
Maybe that's why it's taking them so long to working on it. You know, it could just be that they had to rewrite everything. You know, it might be that kind of thing where it's just like, oh shit, this is more than what it can do. They might have hit a wall.
Yeah. It might have like, hey, we had all these features, but they're unreliable. They could have pushed it too far, and you have to step them back. And you can't give everybody a feature and then take it away because it doesn't work well. So you paint yourself into a corner. So it's best to just wait and release it if you can do it right. Or not.
And I think that we're in a very interesting society nowadays when, you know, people are like, you know, I can't wait for the next firmware. I can't wait for the next firmware. And just like, what are you doing with the current firmware? You know, I've had my Deluge for quite some time now, and I still haven't used half of the features. And will I use those features? Maybe, maybe not. But I don't think I'm missing anything right now in my joy of using this thing. I love the fact that I can literally put that thing in my backseat of my car, or hell, on the passenger seat of my car, drive down to the beach and sit out there in a beach chair and write music. I love that.
Yes, it's like people that have Honda Civics or something complaining that they can't drive at 200 miles an hour. It's like, you can't drive anything 200 miles an hour. You were never going to get there anyway.
My firmware update's going to let me drive at 200 miles per hour.
You're not going to drive anything 200 miles an hour, my friend.
You know.
Honestly, what's really holding me back on writing the Great American Novel is I need a better.
Yeah.
Well, you've come to the right person with Andrew, who's an expert in pens. So you might be able
Let me tell you about my fountain pen collection.
Yeah, like, it's, you know, history has validated that what made Michelangelo a great painter was the brush.
Yeah.
And if you had that brush, you could do all the same.
They still make that brand of brush, I've heard.
It's definitely the brush and not the person.
I could just see him, you know, stuck in the halls of, well, probably not Hobby Lobby. We'll say Michael's. Pat Catan's.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So I it's, you know, so I think that's kind of the thing. And but anyway, the Sonicware is insane. Everyone should buy one. It's $200. You get bass, you got beats. What else do you need? All right.
Nothing.
I'm going to sell all my shit and buy that.
Yeah. I'm going down to my, like I said, my Atari and my EMU Orbit rack.
All right. Speaking of all you need, Korg, the Op6, just got a firmware update about 2 weeks ago now. They have now been joined the other Korg machines that look exactly like the Op6, and the Wave State, the Op6, and that other one that no one can remember, the No One Be Me. The mod wave,
iWave?
thank you. Yes. They all have the new 2.0 firmwares on them. So that's exciting. Op6 now gives you the effect operator. So that is an oscillator signal and the input signal are fed into one of 10 different effects. So you get like EQs, phasers, short delay, comb filters, distortion, drive, wave shapers, punch, decimator. There's new preset sounds. Woo!
The new
Yeah.
presets are really good. I updated mine this week. The presets are really good. I did a little bit with that effect operator. I'm no expert in FM at all. I've made some pretty okay sounds on the Op6, but I'm not I have to hunt and peck my way there. I found that the effects, it's the overdrive.
Nice.
Is pretty cool. That one I was able to get some fun sounds out of. Some of the others were you probably just need to know more than I know. So honestly, they're probably really good, but I don't know what I'm doing with them. Yeah.
So it looks like they plugged in Aftertouch.
Yeah, so they actually you can use
cool.
they added pink noise pink and noise blue for oscillator waveforms. They put Aftertouch selectable as a control source for your LFOs, envelope generators, and virtual patch. And Aftertouch can be
Yeah,
Wait a
but
minute.
You have to
it
connect
doesn't
to
have
different
Aftertouch.
computers.
You
Yeah,
have to
right.
connect it to
Yeah.
another keyboard that has Aftertouch. Yeah.
Wait a minute. Isn't that a Yugoslavian
Aftertouch?
post-punk band? Oh, I'm sorry.
I connect it to a computer for Aftertouch. Yes.
Noise
that is.
pink.
No, the noise pink and
Pink
noise
turns
blue. I sorry. No,
pink,
it's
noise pink
pink-
turns
pink
noise,
turns
noise
blue,
blue.
actually.
God, I can't even say it.
Yeah.
So if you so Aftertouch is not on the thing. The keyboard does not have Aftertouch. The keyboard is pretty basic Betty,
Right.
which I'm fine with those keyboards because I think that they're I'm not a piano player, so I don't give much of a crap about a lot of that stuff.
Yeah. Did they release
Well, you can take a
versions of
hacksaw
these?
to the keyboard, and there you go. You can release it yourself. Yeah.
Not yet. People asked for them, and then what was the one that they released they announced the big version of? Everybody was clamoring for desktop version, and I can't remember which one it was. But then they announced we're gonna do the plus version. Was it the Modwave or?
Yeah.
They did exactly the opposite of what everybody asked for.
Well, yeah. I mean, honestly, look during the pre-show, when I was talking about this is the son of a bitch that's interesting to me because I don't have any non-plug-in based FM, and I guess the Hydrosynth can do FM, but it's this thing sounds so friggin' good.
It's so good. I would argue that it is the best FM sound.
Justin, you do have an FM hardware synth. It's here at my house still.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
right there.
I
That's
forgot.
yours.
Yeah.
Look, it still works.
Yeah, I do. And it's a weird ass FM synth, man. Let me tell you. Don't try to write FM synth patches during a live show.
Well,
I
the
don't
audience
recommend
doesn't like it.
Yeah. Especially when their ears are fucking bleeding because
That's the beauty of FM. 1 in 1,000 things is almost usable.
And the slightest turn of a
Yeah.
knob will make you die. I love it. It's true.
That is the challenge of FM programming.
if they came out with a full-size keyboard with this, I'd actually have a better home for it than this size, especially with the Jasper stands. I'd have to buy additional arms, and I'd have to.
Yeah.
It would be a real PETA for me to deal with that.
Yeah, the arms, I bought a bunch of the extra arms. If you're going to buy arms, friends on the internet, if you're going to buy Jasper's arms, here's my advice to you. Or human arms. Buy as many as you want. Buy more than you want. Because the shipping on them is absolutely hideous.
Yeah,
I bought $80 worth of arms with
Wow.
$70 worth of shipping, and I felt like a fool. I should have just bought $800 worth of arms at that. At that point, I should have just bought all of them.
I did buy an extra set of arms per stand because I did kind of anticipate this, and I had in my mind. But the problem is then I'd have to get rid of a full-size synth, and then I would have to, But you're so right, and I heard that Tone can start distributing in the U.S., which seems unlikely considering there are shipping containers that can't get put anywhere. But I think it would be cool if they would do that.
What you actually could do with the Op6, because the Op6 weighs nothing. I mean, it is just like it. You pick it up and it's shocking how light it is. So they do have, for the Jasper stands, they have those. They have like the sheet music holders, and they have the laptop stands that go on the vertical support post and kind of hang off to the side. You could absolutely put an Op6 on one of those.
Oh, that's a great idea.
It weighs way less than a laptop. I don't know how much it weighs. 4 or 5 pounds. It's very, very light.
Nice.
So that's what I would do.
I am sad that so many people have gotten away from standard rack mounts. Even my Iridium, I had to buy like a VESA mount that converted it into a. So it was a.
I really wish that more synth manufacturers would put VESA compatibility on the back of their gear.
For sure.
I think that was one of the hidden, absolute lovely things about the Digitact and the Digatone is that you can VESA mount those fuckers. Because then you can do that with them, where you can just have them hanging off the side of your stand or whatever. Yeah,
you could build a synth tree. Just have like a Festivus pole with synths, just like
instead of stripping, I can play synths on it.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah,
air your grievances.
Before the missile strength.
Oh my gosh.
Of course.
But yeah, I think that like any of these, a lot of these desktop units, especially, they should put. I mean, I don't think it's going to cost them anything extra to put a VESA mount on the back of it, will it?
I mean, it almost couldn't. It's basically like, what injection mold did you do? And then you'd put inserts into it, and that's it. And it could not raise the cost more than $1.
I guess it also depends on how you mount stuff.
But just having that option there, I think, is fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if you're interested in one, Justin, you should get it. They're really, really good. It is not the most powerful FM synth that's ever been made, for sure. I mean, it's not a slouch with the 6 ops and everything that it's got, but with the effects, which are excellent, the filters, which are excellent, very convincing, and all of the other features, it's very, very good, and the interface is like HydraSynth good.
I have to say that Chord really knocks it out of the park with their onboard effects. Why the heck? Yeah. And I have current sequential stuff. Like I have a Pro 3, and there's really only 1 or 2 effects on there that don't sound like shit. So it's just like shocking to me. You know what I mean? Like, why wouldn't you go that extra step and like put some cool effects on?
Yeah, and
often they outsource effects to third parties for the chips, and it could be that it's like, well, this is what we got.
Yeah, that's true.
And for a lot of people, they're just saying, oh, it has that. It's on paper. That's good enough. Because once you bought it, you've got your money. Are you going to sell it because it has crappy effects? Like you don't have other effects in your DAW?
And I get that argument.
So they know that they can get away with it. That's actually one of the secrets I've always given to people for like, my virus always sounds like a virus. And I just tell them, turn off the effects. And then it won't. Because it's the crappy effects that make it always sound like the same.
Look, I'm of two minds. I get it, but there's also to me like something about patch design where you can modulate effects and like plug them into stuff. I think they've got.
Yeah, especially if you've got them syncing to your global LFO and your clocks. Yeah, you're absolutely right. But I'm just saying that's why they cheap out. They should do better, and they don't. But for the Op6, what you're really buying it for is its FM interface. Sure. That's what makes it stand out amongst other hardware FM synths. It is not the most powerful FM synth, but FM is so unwieldy, and this is a very usable interface and will help demystify and make it usable for you in a way. If in the hardware world, this is probably as best as you're going to get for now. In the software world, you've got the FM8 and others where you can see the whole matrix of modulation going on. But it's still, you've got to really understand FM to use it. And with the Op6, you don't. It has a lot of shortcuts to help guide you, because FM is just a landmine of harsh, unusual digital noise.
I will say also with the, I think this is true of a lot of Korg stuff. Like it's basically true of pretty much everything Korg that I have had. The presets on the Op6 are also very, very good. Which I don't know, like I've had, like Roland stuff. I feel like you turn on Roland stuff and like, I want preset 1.1 to be like, yes, like the very first thing that you turn on and you push it down the keys. It's like, remember that? What was it? The ad for BASF? Was it?
the
with the dude
Maxell.
in the chair? Or was it?
No, it's
Memorex.
Memorex, yeah.
Memorex.
Where the dude was like,
Yeah.
like blown back in the chair?
Yeah.
That's what I want from preset 1 on every synth. I want it to like knock me out of my seat. And I feel like I turn on like a Roland synth and then it's like meh on preset 1 most of the times. But the collection of presets on the Op6 is super good and very, very useful. There are some of them that are for sure just like proof of concept. Like there's one that's like that always irks me when they put on something. They're like, look, you could make a techno song out of one preset. Well, that's cool. I didn't want to make a techno song out of any presets, but
Yeah.
But that will
I'm so
absolutely
biased.
sell
I
us
always
in.
skip through the sequencer presets usually. They irritate me.
yeah,
Me too.
they're pretty trash. But the
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do know that it absolutely sells sense. I used to know a bunch of people, and yeah, if they felt like they were
And that's
writing a
why the
song
wave
with
state
3
sells
keys,
so
Yep.
well.
they bought it.
well,
Yeah.
the Op6 has crazy usable presets, especially if you're into it's got some of the best bass sounds that I've really ever heard on a synthesizer. And some of them are almost indistinguishable from, sorry, I just got attacked by a cat. Apparently they're battling down here. That was very surprising. Some of the sounds that are on the Op6 almost sound
Wow.
like they're samples. It's very, very good.
Yeah, it's amazing what people can do with FM. Like, there's that classic sound slap
Yeah.
bass sound from the DX7. I have no idea how they did that. It just blows me away every
It's
time I
true.
hear it. That's
Yeah.
an FM.
That's on. It's not the same one that's on the Op6, but there is a slap bass sound on it, and that's one of the ones that sounds like. I can go play it if anyone wants to hear it. It sounds like it literally sounds like a sample.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I think it's number 148 for anybody who's looking for it. It's called FM Slap.
I don't know if you folks watched like that Tim Shoebridge guy at all, but his review of the ASM Hydrosynth was kind of interesting, and I made an observation, and I made the same observation, which is the first patch on Hydrosynth. When you first play it, you're like, the fuck, you know what I mean? Like it's real subdued, and then you press down on the keys with the polyphonic aftertouch, and you're like, oh shit, son, this is this is where it's at. You know? So I think that was really clever of Glenn Darcy to be like, hey, I'm going to hide in plain sight with this awesome patch.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So yeah, that's the 4.0 of the Op6 software. And I said correct that it was Maxell, not Memorex, that did that commercial with the guy getting blown back. Thank you, John Haynes, for sending me the YouTube video of the commercial to prove it. I love
Thank
man,
you.
we're
I love
gonna
his
get a-
fans.
Thank you, John Haynes.
Two of you.
They're going to
Stand
revoke
corrected.
our Gen X
Well,
cards,
you know
Andrew.
what?
It's not going to
What can you do?
Well, for
Yeah,
Gen X,
we
we can
care.
just say, we're going senile. We're old enough. Hey, I've been drinking all day.
I have you know. All right. Well, next thing on our firmware update news is Arturia that just released the MicroFreak 4.0 software for their experimental hybrid synth is what they call this thing. And what does that give you? That gives you a new wave user engine is what they're calling it. So you can put your custom wave tables or any wave or AIF file into the MicroFreak, then tweak it using the shit that's on there. Sequencer, Unison, and Chord voices. So you can do it in Unison or Chord mode, which I didn't know that thing had that in there, but okay. So it'll record sequencing on that. You can select a faster scrolling speed for the MicroFreak's oscillator encoder. Okay, so you can make it go faster. Cool. And then 64 new presets. So that's what comes in the 4.0 version.
Yep.
So this thing has come a long way. This seems to be like one of those synths that is pretty mainstay right now. I know a lot of folks that have it. I know a lot of folks that really like it. I don't have one. Does that mean I don't like it? It's kind of cool looking, but I don't know. I don't know if I'm interested in it or not.
I played with it a lot at Moogfest, and I think I ended up buying something else. You know, the thing is it was cool. It's really, really cool. It's just, you know, a form factor that doesn't really work in my studio. And I've got a lot of stuff that does stuff like it. It doesn't make sense to me. But, you know, if I was just getting started or I had a very small sort of desktop studio environment, this thing is pretty damn powerful.
Yep.
Yeah, or if you wanted like a portable.
Yeah.
You know, and it's
Right.
it's not a real keyboard. It's you know, it's touch, so it's a different experience. But this thing is just it's very cool. It has so many synth engines, and it's weird.
Right.
And it's weird in a really good way, in a way that makes it easy to unlock creativity and to push you in directions that you wouldn't think of. You know, I have way too many things, and yet this is one of those synths that I was like, I kind of want this.
Yes.
And you know, this is definitely one where I'd love to borrow one for like a month. And I've seen people do great things
actually,
with it. I think does the Graceful Bard have one of
uses
these?
one of these. Robin, our sometimes guest host, has one of these as well. And the Graceful Bard makes excellent use of this. I'm going to shout out Graceful Bard because last week she was fucking blowing my mind to hell and back with her Metropolis soundtrack that she was doing live.
She's so talented.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and that was
she's
just, I don't know if you guys
an
got a chance to
amazing
watch that. It's on her VOD right now. She did the first half of it. She's going to do the second half of it this Friday. And it was just stunningly well done. Musically, audio, visual, everything was just like she worked her ass off, and it shows. And it was just an amazing, amazing show. So yeah, I can't recommend that one enough as checking out Graceful Bard at any day, but especially when she did that stuff was just like, my fucking face melted off. Yeah, it's really, really
I will have to check out that video on demand.
Yes.
But yeah, back to the Microfreak. It's amazing. I've seen someone else do really good sounds with it. You know, you can make good bass sounds with it. The wavetable's good. I think it's got a speech synthesizer that I thought was really interesting.
It's got a vocoder.
It's a brilliant little synth.
The first model didn't.
It just does so many things. It's a weird interface. It's got just a much more power than it should, especially for its cost. So it's just I think it's a great bargain.
Yeah, and as your opponent is pointing out in chat, maybe it was the last update or the update before last that they did. They added a bunch of noise engineering stuff to it. It's very cool. It isn't. I don't know. Maybe the reason it reminds me of the easel is because of the keyboard, but I actually think it's deeper than that too, because it is just so weird. Like it really is just its own thing, and the keyboard too. I don't know if your opponent saying noise engineering helped design it. I don't know if they helped design it, but they did design a bunch of the oscillators for it, and I think maybe some effects or something like that. I don't think they were involved in the development
because the oscillator sections were open
those
source
were from,
and they were allowed to use them. And so,
what's her name?
So they took those.
That did the oscillators originally. Yeah,
Emil
did those. I think that they and you know I harp on this a lot, and I think that Christoph, you bring up the good point is that the interface is unique enough where you can work things in ways you can't work with just normal pieces of gear, and these kinds of unique interfaces, whether they're like this weird poly aftertouch flat keyboard, or any of those other kinds of non-standard piano stuff, gives you a different outlook and a different way of working these pieces of gear that could be give you very different results that are impossible on any other on a piano style interface. And I think that that's a really important thing to think about is, and I hear people talk about like, like with, I'm going to talk about the Deluge because I know what I know, that their big problem with the Deluge is is they don't like the keys, the buttons, because there's not like a keyboard thing. But to that I challenge, why don't you just use it and come up with something else that doesn't sound like a keyboard then?
Yeah. I can absolutely like.
Oh my
rip
God! Right?
That's the Deluge.
I find it so much easier to rip solos on the Deluge than I do on a keyboard.
Yes, it feels more like a guitar, which is the instrument I've played for 1,000 years at this point. Like because it has the same sort of shape to it. Yeah, no, I could fly on that thing. It just takes practice, and it just feels different.
And it will make you play in a different way. For example, an accordion is a keyboard on one side, but it's the weird buttons on the other side.
Yeah.
And you play them both. And there's nothing else that plays like that. And accordion players are rare and uncommon, but my grandfather was one. And, so you just, if it's buttons, fine, play differently. Maybe it'll push you in a new direction.
Yep, you always have those options.
Then hook a keyboard up to it.
But even like you see like folks that play modular and stuff like that, they're not using any keyboard at all. They're using, knobs and sequencers that are controlled by knobs. The knob possibly being the person who's playing it. Who knows?
Yeah, and it's another amazing thing that they're still putting out firmware updates to this. So.
Yeah, it's $400.
I don't know how well it's still selling.
Yeah,
but
absolutely,
they're still putting updates.
Yeah, that's cool.
Because Roland's not going to do that. Waldorf's not going to do that. Yamaha's not going to do that.
Waldorf doesn't even give you complete firmware when they ship it, and you never
No,
get
they
it.
they sold you a beta, and you're paying a price.
Right?
You should have waited until it was finished, which it never was.
Or like the drum machine that we're just going to put another version of it. What was that? Was that the 909? Yeah.
They're not going to put that one out either. I asked, I won't out anybody on this one, but I asked a person at a store that I have a very good relationship with. And I said, when is this thing going to come out? And he's like, well, they say it's going to come out in January or February, but probably never. I was like, yes.
They really Behringered that announcement, didn't they?
Yeah.
All right. So, the MicroFreak 4.0, if you are a MicroFreak user, go and download and install that bad boy and enjoy the new stuff that's in there. If you aren't a MicroFreak user, $399 for this, getting to be more and more powerful with every firmware update synth.
And that's the list price. You'll really want to
you can probably find it used on Reverb for even less, if that's your ball.
So someone was asking about the new emo before. Should we skip ahead?
No, we should wait them. We should make them wait.
Yes. Wait, it'll be in the encore.
We'll be talking about those things soon enough. One of the things I did notice on our news list, there's nothing from Cherry Audio.
I had to double check that. I couldn't
Hold on, let's go look.
Good. I did actually during the broadcast. I double checked because I couldn't believe it. But maybe they celebrate Halloween with
that might be the
correct
case.
Amount of reverence.
They might be their holy day.
Yeah.
When the veil has
I can
thinned,
accept.
Which is weird because veils are thin. Maybe they should start calling it something like the blanket. I don't know. Anyway, which is more news. Our friends over at Roland, and that I mean not my friend at all, reintroduces the classic, easy to use JD800 in Roland Cloud. Yes,
that is the reputation. For sure, my favorite part about this synthesizer was how visually early 90s this thing is, with the diagonal shit going up it, and then the buttons that they're like, we're just going to make these diagonal.
I remember I was actually thinking about buying one of these things in probably like 2007 because they were going for like $400. Yeah, I was seeing these.
Oh man, I wish I could have buy one of these for $400.
Yeah, I was seeing these things going dirt cheap on eBay, and I had my eye on one. Yeah, like 2009. It was.
Well,
Wow.
they have a lot of
Yeah.
hardware problems, man. Like the old.
Well,
that's
I
the
didn't
only
buy one
downside.
because of the fact that's my
But-
our good friend Sam, Mr. Glacial 23, was like, yeah, they have a lot of hardware problems, dude. I'm like, oh, okay. So I didn't buy it, and I haven't regretted it.
sounds
But yeah, these
so
things sound
good.
good, and I just love the way they look. I don't know, I love that the interface is so terrible. I love it, and I usually hate sliders.
Well, this is coming from a
And
guy
I hate
that
sliders,
hates sliders.
but
You
this
hate
is
sliders
ironic
more
that
than-
it's bad because it's nothing. Like, you know, it's like all sliders.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that there aren't sliders with like nested
Yeah,
sliders. Like, you know, those knobs that
yeah.
you see that have like the nested knob, like the little tiny knob on top. Like, I'm surprised there's not a slider with a slider in the middle of it that double
Yeah.
slides the slide.
This is like a late 2000 hipster unicorn
Oh,
drinking PBR t-shirt. You know, it's fun and it's beautiful. I mean, look, I'm a user, so of course I had to download it. You got to get my goddamn money's worth. And I want to re-emphasize to Roland that their cloud manager software on pretty much all Apple products suck, and they need to fix
garbage.
that. This thing sounds so good. And I mean, I was just dorking with the presets, and good Lord. And to me, like, ACB is great and fun, and I own ACB stuff. I still have a System 8, for example. This makes so much more sense to me, and this started out with the D50 range, Andrew, right? Which is like, of course, a digital type of synth like this is going to be stunning because, you know, digital to digital. It's just ASIC
So
versus
this is
software. It's not
Zencore,
as big of a leap.
ACB, right?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not totally sure because they released a Zencore expansion about 3 months ago for the same keyboard, and I played with that, and it's got a different UI. And they've now released this in their classic section next to their ACB stuff. So I haven't actually done my homework. I don't know. I mean, I don't think, and it stands for analog circuit behavior. So my assumption is, why on the earth would they do that? You know what I mean? Like,
I don't think it would be.
Yeah,
You would do it for the
So I think
filters.
they just changed the. They just changed
That's
the.
the
Yeah,
only
true.
reason.
They probably just changed the livery of this thing and put it in.
possible.
That's my guess.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
So Justin's a Roland user and I'm a Roland user. So, you know, this is part of a legendary range of synths. So, with the knobs, it could be that Yamaha was patent trolling on knobs, and so they had to go with sliders. I know that used to happen with pitch wheels and stuff. So people would have to get creative to avoid the patents. What made the JD800, special was this was at a time when they were taking all the knobs and sliders away from synths because the market research had shown that people didn't program them.
Right.
And so this was like the last really programmable synth from Roland for, 15 years probably. I don't think they had a really programmable synth again until they released the JP8000.
Yeah.
And so this was, this engine is like the precursor to the JV990 or JD990, which was followed up with the 1080, the 2080, the 3080, 5080, the XP50, the XP80. So that engine, which is a great engine, and this is older than that. So I think, like the 990, it probably has these really small sample, like the D50, but they only go one direction. You can't do bidirectional looping, which was something that came out, I think, in the 800 or the 1080 range. And people would always try to get, like some of the expansion cards. They said, like the vintage synth card plays differently on the 990 than it did in the 1080, and it was because they had to come up with workarounds for the fact that it didn't do the bidirectional looping. But people thought that the AD converters and filters were warmer on the 990.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never compared them, but this is a legendary synth, and I love that whole range. It's a bread and butter synth range, and it shows how good a romper can be, especially with a tiny bit of RAM, but with creativity. The amount of engineering for like getting these presets and to make these things sound as good as they do, it's astonishing. Although Roland back then was a miserable company to work for, they did release a lot of great things. Unfortunately, this one has mechanical problems, but it's a good engine, so that makes it kind of perfect to be released in the cloud. But again, the main thing about it was this touchable interface, which you lose in the cloud.
Right.
but you don't have to menu dive for it. Like when they released the 1080, they didn't release it with an interface, or the JB1010, whichever. It's not going to have all the sliders. You have to program it in a different way. It's going to look more like an expanded menu or your like control panel settings.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the advantage of this synth. But you know, it's a demand and a legend for this reason.
Yeah, it's super popular amongst ambient producers, and I know it has been for a really long time.
Well, yeah, so I didn't realize how good the D50 could be. And I had a chance to get one for nothing, and I kicked myself for not doing that now, because I knew the only thing I really knew about the D50 is that it had horrible latency. It was like 50 milliseconds of latency, which is astonishingly bad. And my Kurzweil had 3 milliseconds, if that. So it's like, oh, yeah, all the way Kurzweil. But with these waveforms, when you start with, you just turn off the envelopes and let them run, and yeah, it's fantastic for ambient. Like the drones that you can make out of these. Mm-hmm. It's one of those things that, a Rompler is the perfect instrument.
Absolutely.
Totally.
Well, I mean, you can still get the DO5, which is just the D50.
Yeah, but now I don't need it, but still. Yeah. But back then I could have had it, because I heard somebody that, well, for a while now you can get that DO5, but for like 15 years there was no DO5, and I was like, oh, I should have gotten that thing because somebody was going to sell me theirs for $50 and I didn't want it, and I was like, oh, and then it was after that I discovered what you could do with it, and then of course I didn't see him for less than $500 again.
Yeah. And
I was like, all right, I don't need it for $500.
We can blame
it sounds really good.
$50, I should have taken it, and it was dumb for me not to do it. And this would have been the JD800, which I never had an offer for, is infinitely more programmable.
Yeah. Obviously, look at the thing.
Yeah.
This looks like fun.
Yeah, but at that time, I didn't realize how important it was to have a control surface. So I figured as long as I can get to that setting, I'm fine. I'll know what it is. And I did so much menu diving on my Kurzweil or my JD 1080 or 1010 or, on all my synths. I've got a bunch of Yamaha synths which are barely usable because the interfaces are so bad.
Yeah.
But I would dive in and get it. And it's not until you get spoiled by good interfaces that you realize, oh shit, all these shitty interfaces have been holding me back.
At least the K2000 had a jog wheel and data slider.
Yeah. Slider.
A slider.
But,
it's like the DX7
Slider, yeah.
And yet the K2000 is still my Desert Island set.
It's a beautiful thing.
Because it just does everything.
Yeah.
And it still does a ton of things that nothing else on the market does. It's just so ahead of its time, despite its problems.
So J. Rod Ohio says that the DO5 is going for $500 to $600 right now. Holy shit!
That is not worth it.
No. Yeah.
In the second-hand
Because
market?
stop making them.
Yeah.
I was really.
Good
I mean,
Lord.
I don't know. I was really hoping that they're going to make the JD800 boutique version. With like the really, really teeny tiny sliders, just like the really, really teeny tiny knobs on those fucking boutiques. I still think that the DO5 was the only thing that works in that form factor, because you're not going to fucking program on the fucking DO5. You're going to use an external programmer. Fuck that.
That is absolutely the way to program.
The drum machines are pretty good, I think. I don't mind them. I wish they had multiple outs, and it's stupid 3.5 out is dumb, but they're all actually, I think, pretty fine, especially the 06. I have like a lot of knobs on it anyway.
Yeah, and that's just it, is like the things that don't have a lot of knobs and stuff like that. It makes much more sense. But yeah, I think like as far as like the 1/8-inch connectors on the DO5, I just plugged it in through USB and it has audio out on USB, so I just do that instead. Not that I use it very often.
But it's still the ultra micro super nano USB that,
Bitch,
like,
you're
if
just
you look at
splitting
it,
hairs
it breaks off. The wrong kind of USB. It's the wrong kind of plug. There's not enough of the plug.
Dude, the Scorp has the same one.
Yeah, but it is better there.
Wow. Wow, that was
Hey,
good.
Wambra, thanks for
Had me
stopping
going.
in and saying hello. Keep unpacking. I hope you're enjoying your new reactor. I kept it warm for you because I love you. So yeah, so the if you are a Roland Cloud user, you can grab the JD800. If you are not a Roland Cloud user, then don't become one because it's fucking terrible, I think.
Well, I think with the with these classic ones, I think you can buy standalone plugins.
Did you actually own them, or are you still like borrowing them from Roland for money?
I think you can buy them outright. Most of the classic.
Well, that's good at least. So yeah, if that's your thing, there it is. So on the other hand, if you want to spend 25,000 quid on a synthesizer, you should have the option to make it black. And that's exactly what Analog Solutions has done when they introduced the new Black Colossus synthesizer. Now I
ordered mine now that's black.
Dude, did you skip
No,
over
we're
the
not there yet, dude.
SP1200?
No, you skipped down to the SP1200.
Yeah, we're not down there yet, dude.
Yeah, we got 6 more stories.
Yeah, you need to look at the news stories. Show notes. Show notes.
Oh, sorry. I'm looking at our
notes.
thread, I think. Sorry.
That's why I make the show notes, because I get rid of all the dross.
Gotcha.
So yeah, $25,000 for the Analog Solutions Black Colossus synthesizer, which this thing is an amazing synthesizer that no one can ever afford.
And yet they've sold out of them.
Yes, because every university bought one, I guess.
Both of them.
Yeah, all 3 of them that they had.
They sold out of both of them. And it is an amazing synthesizer if you want to make some of the most unusable ruckus. I have heard like the original one. What was the original one's called? The what is it? The
EMS Synthi I100.
Yes, which is basic. Thank you. It's a very catchy name.
Right. It is in England.
That thing is like, there's been some amazing music that's been made on it. There has also been some of the worst noise ever to come out of any device that has come out of that thing. I mean, it has put some of these like modular fart boxes to shame.
My TG33 will do that.
Yeah, there you go. Well, that's what the TG33 is good at. So will the fart stomp box.
Good at noise.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think that, you know, the original EMS Synthi 100s in that ilk are, you know, there were experimental devices that, you know, are outside of universities, you know, for their sound labs and stuff like that. Didn't see much of a market. And I think that this is the folks that scavenged them from those universities and stuff like that, you know, had this thing, and became a certain cool factor to having one because they were so rare and they're so big and they're so unruly and they're so gross sounding. And so now it's just kind of like, now you can have one too for 25, you know, and there's going to be some jerk face. There's going to be, obviously, because they're doing their 4th run of these things, there's enough people out there that are like, I'm going to throw 25,000 quid down for this thing.
Well, fun
Richard
fact,
Devine.
this is the reason Grimes left Elon Musk. He bought it and he was hogging it, wouldn't let her use it. She's like, I'm out.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep, it was the Black Colossus.
The Black Colossus.
Wait.
He was trying to pronounce the name of their child, wasn't he?
Radiophonic Workshop. Oh.
Yeah.
Exactly. You know, I mean, yeah,
Oh my
BBC, a few universities, and that was probably it for these original runs. Yeah. No, or maybe a couple of studios, but they're rare.
Yeah.
This is in that.
Check.
Was this in Rule Britannia?
Synth Britannia?
Was this in Rule Britannia or the other British synth?
Synth Britannia?
Yeah.
I think it was.
It was in one of the ones that we watched. I watched too many synth.
Yeah, me too.
So weird piece of trivia. One of my favorite Doctor Who episodes with John Pertwee as the 3rd Doctor. There's an episode called The Sea Devils, and I always loved the soundtrack, and I didn't only put it together probably about 6-7 years ago that it was the synthy that was used to make all the sounds.
Nice.
I mean, so yeah, you can do some really cool stuff with it.
Was it the Synthi or the BCS3?
It was the Synthi that they used for that episode.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I mean, this thing is so gorgeous, but I mean, if you look at the original, it's like somehow they've managed to make it look sleeker and smaller. I mean, the original looks like I don't even know what, like, again, you know, test lab equipment, crazy huge, probably weighs like 800 pounds.
Well, I mean,
But this
that's
thing
what they
looks
were
like-
making.
Well, and
it out
that's
of.
that's what the technology that they had back in the day. I mean, all this stuff looked like that. I mean, if you
sure.
look at, you ever seen pictures of like Raymond Scott's studio? You know, it was floor to ceiling, wall to wall, with just like these gigantic, you know, synth module based kind of things that him and Bob Moog would make. And the music that came out from those eras and stuff like that kind of reflected the experimentation that those interfaces allowed. Again, there's no piano interface for these things at that point. And so they were just, you know, using these things to create these, you know, these tones and sounds and stuff like that never existed before. And I think that was, you know, again, that's kind of the idea behind those kinds of things. And to this day with the Black Colossus and everything like that, or just the Colossus in general, that's what you're not going to sit down and compose techno on this thing. Although you might now, because this one actually does have a keyboard interface. If you look down on the lower right-hand side on the table.
Yeah, it's got like that sort of easel style looking whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, it's cool. It's really, really cool. Totally impractical.
Couldn't fit it down
totally
here.
Insane. Yeah. I mean, hey, I wouldn't say no to it if, you know, 10 or 12 moving people were willing to move.
And where
my
would you put
apartment,
it, Justin? I'm looking behind you here.
Yeah.
The bed.
Who needs a kitchen table?
Who needs a bed?
Right. Expendable. Yeah. I'll just curl up on the floor and feet
You
up
can just
position
lay
like
on
that.
on the table of this thing.
Yeah.
The tubes will keep you warm. So yeah, the Black Colossus synthesizer, $25K. Buy one today.
Or two.
And if you guys have a review model that you want to send over here, PM me and I will send you my address. So speaking of classics that are still around to this day and important in the world, some news from our friends in Dusseldorf. Yes, the incredible Kraftwerk has been inducted into the more ludicrously named Year by Year Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Based here in beautiful sunny Cleveland, Ohio, right up on Lake Erie in a absolutely phenomenally hideously designed building by IMP, I think. And the only time that Clevelanders go to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is when people come from out of town that they want to go to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Then we take them. Otherwise, we don't go. So yeah, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction ceremonies happened this past week, and there was some other people that were inducted as well, but Kraftwerk was inducted.
And that's why nobody cares about everybody else.
Exactly. And Kraftwerk, true to form, did not show up to it. I believe they sent a video, and it might have just been a robot that just stood there and glared at everybody. It's true.
Poetic justice.
So yeah, Kraftwerk, they have been nominated for, I think, about the past 15 years to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. A dubious honor, to be sure, if you understand how the political process that is the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame nomination process is. But they finally got in there, and now if you go into the really dark room that is the Hall of Fame itself, you'll see their name on a small plaque in there, and that's it.
It's not a lot to get. Just put your name on a plaque. Stick it in a dark room, a place that people.
And don't they charge the artists like $15,000 for their?
I think yeah.
It is kind of a scam.
It's I think that Hall of Fames are generally this very self-aggrandizing kind of pat yourself on the back kind of things that I have a tough time with. You know, I've been to the Hall of Fame I think twice so far in my entire life, and like seeing the costume stuff is kind of cool, and seeing like some of the props and like, you know, seeing some of the instruments, you know, the Moog Liberation that, you know, that's in there from what's his name, P-Funk guy, Funkadelic rather. Yeah.
Oh,
Yes, George
George
Clinton.
Clinton.
You know,
George Clinton.
Liberation's in there. You know, some Devo's costumes, like their energy domes, they have those things in there. That kind of stuff is okay to look at, but
Yeah, the only time I went there, I think I've been there twice too, Andrew, and they had a special exhibit and an electronic stuff, and they had a glass case with Skrillex's MIDI controller. At which point I was
and his
like,
and his
why am
busted
I
ass
fucking
MacBook
here?
Pro that he
This is
threw
so
across
dumb.
the room. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly right. They were paired together, and I was like, this is
Yeah.
pointless. What am I doing here?
Whoop-de shit. So yeah, congratulations, Kraftwerk. Now you get to be, you know, joined with such greats as I don't know, some other bands.
The Cure.
I think the Cure,
And
the
Trap
Cure,
Razor.
and Nine Inch Nails, and some other people. Anyway, better Kraftwerk news than that, however, is that they have announced a U.S. tour, and it is quite prolific in going to places they have not been to in many, many years. So that's awesome. Everyone should go see Kraftwerk.
Yeah.
While Ralph Hooter is still alive, he's 75 years old. He's the only person that's still around that's in Kraftwerk. Obviously, there's still two other members that are still alive, but they have not been in Kraftwerk since the 80s. But to see a Kraftwerk concert is fucking mind-blowing. It is the best 2 hours of watching four men not move at all. And I'm not being sarcastic.
They're the robots.
It's absolutely...
And I totally agree. You know, you'd think I'm being sarcastic. It's four guys behind laptops, and it's fantastic, and it's worth
Yes.
every cent.
And yes, J-Rod, they are playing in Cleveland. And I personally invite everybody on Tangents, all of our robots, to come Memorial Day weekend to go see them. They're playing that Sunday in beautiful, sunny Cleveland, Ohio. If you stick around the next day, we'll have a barbecue at my house. So there you go. So
This is a pretty aggressive tour
It
schedule.
really
I'm looking
is.
at these dates, and it's
they are, yeah. I mean, they're hitting. They're starting off in beautiful, sunny St. Louis, Missouri. Then coming over here to Cleveland, up to Minneapolis, Chicago, Detroit, Toronto, Montreal, North Adams, Massachusetts. Oh, at the MoCA. That makes sense. Boston, New York, Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., Orlando, Nashville, Memphis, Austin, Dallas, Morrison, Colorado, that's Red Rocks, San Diego, L.A., San Francisco, Portland, Seattle, and Vancouver. I've seen them twice as well, Christoph. I saw them once in Toronto in 2005, the minimum maximum tour, which I think is the last time that Florian was playing with them. And then I saw them this last time around, the Kraftwerk 3D concert that they did. I think it was 2018, I want to say. But yeah, the Kraftwerk 3D experience, like you wear 3D glasses to the concert, and all their projections and stuff like that are in 3D, and they're fun, and it's a great time. It's just so it's just an experience.
That's really cool. The venue that they're playing in, Radio City Music Hall is cool in New York. The Anthem is a great venue in DC, and the Paramount
Yes.
is really good in Seattle too.
And
This
I was in
good.
Detroit, the Masonic Temple. That's where I saw them last time, which is a beautiful venue. It's gigantic and it's crazy and it sounds great in there. And they're playing at the Palace Theater here in Cleveland, which is also a beautiful like Broadway style theater. Yeah.
oh yeah,
Yes.
Palace is very nice. Yeah.
So yeah. They're playing in San Francisco, Yopo. They are playing at the Bill Graham Civic Auditorium in San Fran. But you should just come to Cleveland on Memorial Day weekend instead, because it'll be much more fun.
We could all just take off for 2 months and
We'll
just
be like the
follow them
Deadheads.
on tour.
How we're going to be?
Yeah, that's it.
groupies? Can we be Kraftwerk groupies? That would be so cool.
Maybe. tickets go on sale on Friday, everybody.
Yes.
So check on the link that Christoph posted up on there for the information about that. And then the tickets will probably be going on sale through like Ticket Bastard or whatever.
Yeah, tomorrow, if anybody's interested, I'll where is it? I've had this one pulled up here. I will if anybody wants the tickets for DC, they're going on pre-sale tomorrow, and I'm going to drop the link in to the chat and also the password because it's password protected. So if you want the DC Kraftwerk, I'm typing this in now. There's the link. Sorry, that's kind of a gross link, but it is what it is, and that is the link. And there's the password. The password is computer. It's a very secure password, as you can tell.
Computer world.
You know. So that's that should be cool. So if you want to see Kraftwerk in DC.
Yes, but yeah, folks should just go and see Kraftwerk. I know that people will be like, "Oh, it's but who cares?" You know, kind of thing. But they really are well worth it. And you know, whether or not you're a Kraftwerk fan, doesn't matter. Just go fucking see him anyway. I don't care if you're not a fan.
I could easily argue
what are
that
Kraftwerk fans called?
all
Power
modern
plants.
pop electronic music stems from
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think they can be underestimated, honestly.
Kraftwerk. Yeah. Along with maybe the Beatles, probably the two most influential bands of the last 80
Agreed.
years.
So they ticket prices for the Cleveland show start at $40, and the most expensive is
Right.
$80.
I think the Radio City tickets start at $150 in New York.
Yeah, even though that's not even terribly bad.
Yeah. So again, you want to come and hang out with us? That's cool. Come on up. Come on, hang out. It's cool. I'm telling you, I put on a good barbecue. All right. So yeah, Kraftwerk news. Cool. Moving on to the next thing is a surprise to many. Fender just announced that they were buying Presonus.
This was very surprising as somebody who just
Yeah, I
bought
know,
a bunch
right?
of Persona
Is
stuff.
Fender trying to become the next Gibson?
You would think so.
Does that mean Presonus stuff's all going to go
Yeah, I know,
missing?
right? That's what I mean. I doubt that would be the case, but I'm afraid of that might be the case.
Yeah, I hope your driver's
It is my
wrong.
sincerest hope that it's kind of like the Novation relationship with Focusrite, who is actually owned by like the parent company that owns those two companies. That they just bought them and let them be.
No.
Fender has been a pretty good company in general, though. Like Fender's been. I've bought a bunch of Fender stuff over the years, from guitars and amps and things, and they've always been pretty good. And they do have their toes in a bunch of stuff. It's like my car sound system is a Fender sound system.
Well, I mean,
Which is
Yamaha
very
makes
weird
motorcycles and saxophones. So.
Yeah, when you've absolutely got to get a motorcycle, a boat,
A piano.
and
And the FM
piano
synth.
at the same time.
Whereas I've bought a lot of stuff by companies that Gibson bought and then ended driver support.
Right.
Or just
Yeah, I don't know anything about driver support in terms of Fender, but I do know that in general they've been a pretty decent company.
I was just comparing them to Gibson, who's been just evil. They're like
yeah.
evil up there with Apple.
I just like what?
So they're
now,
innovative and extreme and
that's-
awesome. Cool, good to know.
Well, as soon as Apple releases updated drivers for my eMagic Unitor 8, I will let it go. And maybe continue Sounddiver, the greatest synth editor ever made, that they bought and then destroyed out of spite because they are
I thought you
evil.
liked spite, so you should be celebrating this. I see it's only
But I'm the one dishing out the
it's only
spite.
spite. It's only the spite that you approve of that matters. I see.
Yes. I just want
It's
everything
just
to
that
be
they're targeting
self-
Christoph
I
specifically.
just want to be able to use my 5,000-year-old audio device on the computer for once.
Well, it wasn't on
Yeah,
your
that
device,
seems
it's a MIDI
reasonable.
That too.
interface. How hard is that? Like the
What does it connect with? A telephone
like
line
the
or?
the Motu MIDI interfaces are still working from 25 years ago.
The Motu interface that I had didn't work when it was new.
Yeah, because you tried to use it on an app. That's how they get you.
But your eMagic unit's still running off of an RS-232 port, isn't it?
No, it's
Is
USB.
it? Like USB 0.5?
It supported both. It had USB and it had serial.
Okay, yeah. So I'm seeing why they're not updating the drivers for that.
No, they stopped it. Releasing the drivers as soon as they bought it. They immediately discontinued all PC drivers, and they also immediately discontinued Sounddiver.
Oh, I see.
Well, yeah, they
just heard that you were using
it. Was
it.
like,
That's
this is
exactly what
Spike
it did.
Club bastard
you bought
Christoph.
that new interface? Like, well, now that Windows XP is coming out, nope.
Well, I mean, that's fair. Windows XP. So yeah, so the like I said, it's my hope that they just kind of leave them alone, kind of like Aldi does to Trader Joe's. But I don't know.
Yeah, I'm still waiting
We'll
to
find
see
out.
what's going to happen to Native Instruments after their recent acquisition. So we'll just hope for the best.
Well, I mean, it looks like that Native Instruments and what the hell they're called? They're getting tighter with each other. It's starting to push things more to get closer together, from what I was looking at. I have a feeling that I don't think that I think that the most that Fender is going to do is maybe start pushing their like amp modeling into Studio One.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised to see also. So Fender also has an online guitar teaching thing. I wouldn't be surprised to see that come
They start folding
bundled
that
in
into
with
Sphere
some
or
of the
something like
stuff.
that.
Or yeah, that seems reasonable to see some of that pop up. They do have some of those new modeling amps. I can't imagine that they wouldn't try to put the IRs from those into the software. But I don't know. I think Fender's just got buckets of money and thinks that if they, I mean, a lot of times the truth is that companies like what they need is to be able to grow. They just need more resources. So maybe that's just the case of what's going on here is that Presonus was shopping around for a buyer who really just kind of wanted to be hands off and they had a good thing going. They just wanted to grow faster.
I don't know. I don't, like I said, I'm cautiously optimistic about it. Like I have a number of pieces of Presonus gear here as well. And then I am a user of Studio One. And I like it just fine and it works. It does a great job. I like that it's one of the few DAWs that just kind of gets out of my way and lets me create. But yeah, I mean, what will Fender do with it? I don't know. I don't know what maybe Fender's just looking for. They wanted to have some more cloud-based DAW product in their stuff or something like that. They don't have that in their portfolio. They don't have any DAW stuff in there at all. So now they can reach out and sell more, whiz bangs and stuff like that. Maybe they're going to do like a cloud-based virtual amp service or something like that, and they're going to use the power of Presonus Sphere, which isn't that powerful, to push that stuff out. I don't know.
I guess we'll see.
Yep. So that's a piece of news. Other pieces of news is the UJam Finisher Dynamo. What the hell is this thing? Justin, you bought it already, didn't you?
So, no, I actually didn't, but I do own other UJam products. I own a couple of other Beatmaker products, which I think are friggin' awesome. So, it's getting late in the night, but I don't want to pontificate too much. But I have sort of mixed feelings about this kind of stuff. I listen to a lot of the demos. It's not interesting. It's visually beautiful. I'm looking for stuff to replace some of my older tools that I used in Subsoma. to do sort of weird automated effects. So I was kind of hoping to do it. I'm not really sure about that. I may try it out. We'll see. I do worry a little bit, and I guess in the last post that I put out there for the Knock Knock plugin, kind of is the same deal where you see this sort of trend amongst sort of younger music producers now for these plugins that have names like Goo and Drizzle, and they, big flashing buttons on them that make things sound, great. I don't know. I'm a little skeptical of that, and I feel like it's also sort of. I'm of two minds. Part of me is like delightfully weird, and so therefore, I don't know what the drizzle button does. I'm just going to keep turning the knob until it sounds cool. But I also feel like it's doing them a disservice because it's not really telling you what the fuck it's doing, right? So I'm of two minds about that. I don't know. So I know it's kind of a bummer. I usually put things on here that I really like. I think it's pretty cool, and it's a cool, really high concept sort of item. And if you listen to, I highly recommend James drums. That stuff is really sweet. Very, very cool. And they have the sort of model of like, they've just taken their model for their drum and other types of products and moved it to something that you can use just on a single track or on, I guess, the master bus, where it's like, we're going to give you a bunch of cool buttons and we're going to mess around with probably the reverb or the gate or some envelope follower, but we're going to call it, whatever, Bazinga, and then it's going to sound cool. And they really did that really well with the drums, but I'm not so sure about this plugin.
It looks interesting though. I mean, the interface looks kind of fun, that kind of thing. But yeah, I agree. Like when people like label things stupidly, then you don't really, I kind of lose interest in it pretty quickly. I don't need a knob that says your mom. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't really help me. It doesn't make me understand what to do with it except stick my dick in it. But I mean,
I think you do. Sorry.
But it's kind of like some of the things like Make Noise is really good at making. I think one of the worst interfaces for synthesizers ever, because I'm like, I don't understand what the fuck this is supposed to do. This knob just says cup. What the fuck does cup mean? I don't know.
Fidget.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Actually, that's the ICUP knob.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some nonsense that happens on some of those. I don't like that either. I want very boring things that are predictable to
Your
me.
opponent says the only plugin we need is the sausage fattener. Absolutely.
Oh,
Yeah, you got two knobs, sausage and fatten.
maybe you.
Yo, you need the sausage exister. That's right. Anyway, stop cupping the mic. Oh, God. So, the news everyone has been wanting to talk about all night, apparently, including Justin, who's already pre-ordered this thing, I'm sure. Our good friends over at Rosum Electronics has decided that we do not have enough SP1200 in our lives and has reissued the SP1200 for the low price of $4,000. This is a sampler that is 8 bits and is sort of. Yeah. It's kind of weird. I know this is a classic, and I know I should know more about this than I do, but I don't. So.
Okay, well, I'm happy
take
to
it away,
take over.
guys.
All right, so the SB1200 is most famous for being the Wu-Tang sampler. And it's also one of Skinny Puppy's early samplers. It was also used by Cabaret Voltaire. So it's part of the EMU line. So it has a 8-bit storage system, which people mistakenly refer to it then as an 8-bit sampler. But it's not a PCM sampler. It's a Moolah compression sampler. Moolah being a compression used by Bell Labs and used for telephony. And it has this thing where, because it's a lossy compression, what you put in is not what you get out. And people find that compression to be warm. It was also very limited in its sample RAM. Now, the sampler they put up before this one, the SB12, had an even lower sampler rate and less memory. So this one had much more memory, but still nothing compared to anything modern. So people came up with really creative sampling techniques to maximize what they would do with it. And one of the most common was if you were sampling a record that was a 33, you'd speed it up to 45 and then sample it so it would consume less sample RAM, and then you would transpose it down until it sounded correct. And the artifacts of that, combined with the moolah compression, defines one of the key
Very good.
electronic sounds of the 80s. And you'll see this in Janet Jackson's work for like Rhythm Nation, and a lot of famous production. It had a very famous characteristic to its swing. So it's key to the New Jack swing sound that was common in 80s music, especially mainstream top 40. So you could do it a lot. So I don't know, you would do that, and then it made things sound, I guess, fatter, but it had a warmth to it. And so these things, because of their workflow, and anybody wants to be Wu-Tang, these things, for their ridiculous amount of weak power, take in extreme amounts of money to buy them used. I've seen them go for like 12, 14 grand. And they are so not worth it. But they get it because if you want to get that sound, this will get you there. There's other ways to do that in software, but the people who buy these things, they don't want to use computers or software. And the other thing is, just like the people still buying MPCs, you're buying into a workflow. People, they get used to working this way. And once you do, you want it. And the people who used to work with them, they miss it. I started with pattern-based sequencing, and I kind of hate it, but I can also work very quickly in it. And I could see it for other people. If you've got that mindset and you're just never going to get past it, and a lot of Akai people are going to be that way, native instruments machine people are going to love pattern-based sequencing. Reason people love pattern-based sequencing. So this ties you back to that type of sequencing, that interface that's going to feel familiar or will unlock you in that way. But also it has the moolah compression for the way it's going to mutilate your sounds. I own a crappy sampler for the sole reason. I have a lot of samplers, but one of them is a crappy one. It's the Chord ES1. And the reason why I keep it is because what I put in is not what I get out, but what I get out is so much harder and brutal than what I put in a good way that it's completely worth it just for that effect. That's why people love the SP1200, and that's why this thing's gonna sell well.
Yeah. It has a huge place, obviously, in 80s and 90s hip hop, and it does. It sounds friggin' great, and I've lusted after these periodically. But I have to tell you that my view wasn't. It's kind of how I felt about those Fairlights when they re-released those. Very limited release. Only a certain special set of folks want to buy that.
Yeah, this is obviously a sampler for the well-to-do. If you're a working man, then get the TAL sampler, which recreates this audio chain with moolah compression, and you can get that sound. But yeah, you'll be stuck using a computer, but it will accurately do that sound. There is another sampler that does it too, and I don't know what it is, but the TAL sampler has that same digital workflow and should be able to recreate the sound of the SP12. Or also the emulator.
There's also the Isla.
Oh yeah, and there's also there's the
Isla
S2400, an accurate emulation, but the Isla also has a second engine which will do quality. So it's quite something.
The Isla is kind of a funny mix between the SP and its own thing too, because they added so much more power to it. So it has very, very robust sequencing. Sequencing that the Isla has sequencing that is not as adept as, for instance, the Pyramid, but I think probably exceeds the sequencing of something like a Deluge or an MPC. It's pretty robust, but they're still doing it on the same basic sort of physical interface. which is tough. The other thing that is pretty interesting about the SP, you're talking about stuff like how it was used. The SP is very good for performance as well as production.
Yeah.
So you've got these handful of sliders on it that are like big, and they're easy to grab, and they're not finicky, and they slide quick, and you can use them almost like the like a crossfader on a DJ rig. Yep. And so there's a lot that people were able to do by sort of like flipping those on and off and do it. It's part of the power of it is like, I don't know, power comes in a lot of different ways, I think, and not always does it come in terms of the specs of the machine. Part of the power of the machine is really down to how much can you perform with it.
And that's what I meant by workflow.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking there's workflow in the terms of
well, I guess there's both sequencing workflow and live workflow.
Yeah.
And it has both.
And sampling.
So it's legendary, and people love it for these reasons.
Yeah, but this one it is kind of funny, honestly, that it like the build quality of this thing looks to be comical. It looks like you could drive a tank over it and it would be just fine at the end of it. Like it probably would dent the tank's treads or something. But it's just like they are not small. For anybody who has not seen one of these in person and you're looking at the pictures of it online, it's kind of like an 808. Like everybody who hasn't seen an 808 or touched an 808 in person looks at it and thinks like, oh, that's not that big. It's the size of a suitcase, an 808 is. And the SP is sort of the same thing. Like they're not small.
It's 26 pounds. The 1200, this thing is literally, as it says, I don't see dimensions on here, but it's 26 pounds. And you still need to power brick it. Like they didn't have room to put the fucking transformer inside the thing.
Just make it another 6 inches deep. Who'd notice? But it's got this tiny, hilarious little SD card slot poking out of the front of it.
So how many hit points of damage do you do with it?
Well, you got a +7 encumbrance.
Yeah.
So
yeah, if anyone wants to,
I'd like one.
Here's some good demos of this. I think I've mentioned him before, but there's a guy out of Toronto called the Daydream Sound. Super good comparisons and walkthroughs of these samplers, both in Sonic and this stuff.
Yeah, so
because if you wanted that rugged sound, you could pick up like a rack mount Mirage for a fraction of this price.
Oh God, yeah.
Do that kind of stuff. Yeah. I mean, it's not the same technology that Christoph is talking about, but it still gives you that lo-fi crunch.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's different ways to do lo-fi, like because the older Kais had a different method. The Mirage had a different method. So there's other ways. The Emax had a different method, but this Moolah goes throughout the EMU range, and up till the 4. The 4 doesn't have it, but the emulator 2, emulator 3 were all using Moolah compression, as was the SP12 and 12.
Well, what's funny is we say lo-fi now, but we all are old enough to recall, they went for hi-fi.
Yeah, this was as high as you can get.
It was as good as
that's the sort of irony.
It was as good as you could probably afford, unless you had the 60,000 for the Fairlight at the time, the Fairlight 3, because the Fairlight 2 still that was actual PCM 12-bit.
Right.
Yeah. The adjacent to this too, because there's been actually some interesting moves in samplers lately. Like this is cool. This is coming out, and the new SP404 too. Like the SP line has some really good effects in it for anybody who just wants to sort of like crunch up some sound. They do a very good job of that, and the new one looks really compelling, especially bringing the 303 version. The 303 sound on the SP is better than the 404, I think.
One of the things that is interesting is it comes with a floppy disk. That if you have an SP1200, an original SP1200, it gives you a modified software for that unit, so that way you can transfer your stuff over to the new reissued one using a MIDI cable. which is nice of them.
No
Yeah.
shit. So it's like what, some kind of sex shit?
Yeah, pretty much.
That's cool.
You have to remember those emus and old Akais, they don't use regular fat formats, so nothing else can read those discs.
Yeah. Yeah, the Insonic shit's the same way. It's a bummer.
Yep. So luckily our Kurzweil could read the Insonic, and it could read Akai, but it couldn't read emu, I believe.
Interesting.
The best thing about this thing, I really just want everybody to enjoy this. The year of our Lord, 2021, they have seen fit to give this device, this $4,000 26-pound device. It has, and it takes an SD card also. It takes an SD card, which you can get with 1 quadrillion zettabytes of storage on them now for $8.21 from Amazon tonight. Like, you could order it and have it tonight. It has 20 seconds of sampling time, which is, it is so good and so funny to me. I love it.
And 8 channel unfiltered outputs and 6 filtered channel outputs.
You know what? Honestly, the 20 milliseconds makes sense because it forces you to use a velocity to your sampling.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's not supposed to be an Akai S5000. So it's going to force you to work this way and to do these things and to make the most of what it's supposed to do. And they're not giving you the choice. They could have put the more M, and they're like, nope.
I kind of feel that.
So I mean, that's a really bold choice. But
I kind of feel that if you open this thing up, it's going to be like a FPGA chip on an Android board and a brick. It's gonna be like loaded with bricks.
That would be amazing.
We just decided to be assholes and give you 20 seconds to sample along with our.
Yeah, just purely on principle. Well, I don't know. The people that love these things love them. Like Pharaoh Monch said, they'll bury me with my SP1200.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
But additionally, the emus use a monolithic file format. So, like, you know, you're loading the whole bank at the same time. You can't just load the patches up. So even though you've got the infinite storage, you're just going to have thousands of little files. Yeah.
Very small file.
Yeah. So I mean, one area where they could, you know, update it is making it not a monolithic file format, so you can take patches from different banks and combine them in an easy way. You know, now that Sound Diver is no more.
Well, that'll fucking teach you.
Yeah, I get the feeling this is just for cats that have the original and just want one that doesn't break as much.
Honestly, I'll bet you somebody watching the Wu-Tang series on Hulu is going to buy it too. You know, again, it goes back to that. Man, if I had Michelangelo's paintbrush.
Yep. God, if I thought I could be the Wu-Tang Clan, I'd be into it.
Well, the Wu-Tang also used the in one of their early albums, so you can pick that up for a couple $100.
You know, there's a little bit of Wu-Tang in all of us, Jeff. Right there. So yeah, the SP1200, $4,000. Pick one up today. And David Rossum, if you're listening and you want to send us a review copy, please PM me. Thanks.
Yeah, I would also take a review copy. I would. Wow, would I say nice things about this thing for a very long time? But they do have a history of 40 years of people saying nice things about it.
I'll say something even nicer about it. And I don't say nice things about a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I will invent new words.
I will side by side invent new words with another sampler.
They could just send me a nice picture of one. That would be fine.
I will side by side comparison it with the Gigatat.
It's up there with the. I don't know if you guys ever listened to the Goon Show, but there's a skit on there where one of the characters is like, "I'm really hungry," and he's like, "Well, here's a delicious sandwich."
Perfect.
That's how it is.
And our final piece of news tonight: there's a company that called Plugins That Knock, and so you take this one, Justin, because you're the one that posted it.
Sorry, I put this in is counterpoint other one, okay? Because it's got a little bit of that, like the punch knob or whatever. The difference is this thing actually is badass. Well, at least for what I do, for Subsoma anyway, what I do there with the heavy sort of drums. So to me, this thing sounds great. It's super professional. It's small. It's slick. If you want your drums to have real oomph, this is a really good way to go. I like it a lot. Simple, right to the point, does the job. To me, a lot of the plugins I use are like that. I like the D16 plugins I use. They do one goddamn thing and they do it well, and that's all I want. And that's how I feel about this thing. In contrast to the Woodley UJam, whatever
yes. So the name of the company is called Plugins That Knock, and the device is called Knock. So this is a plugins that knock is what this thing is basically known as. And just to kind of give everyone an overview of what this thing is it is 5 individual processing modules in a plugin, and has a single knob for control for each of those things. It has a punch, which is like a transient shaper, and then there's saturate, which gives you harmonic distortion, and then there is sub, which according to what they're saying, says it detects when a kick drum is present in the raw material and generates a layered sub-frequency tone to fortify it and give the kick a deep low-end presence. That's kind of slick. You can adjust the pitch of that as well, so you can tune your sub.
Yeah, you can pitch match it to your track. Yeah, but that's the thing, is it's sort of like the mic hanging over your drums. Like, you can use this on individual drums, but it will actually help you EQ an entire kit. And as you know, the way I worked previously with MPCs, I'd be dropping, wave files into my DAW, not individual outs. So I would have to pre-mix my drums in the MPC. So to me, this is also very attractive for that reason.
This effects chain is also good for synth basses. This is the same chain that Nitsurab used on their first album.
I could see that.
Nice.
So it does sub, and then it has what's called air. So it's like basically it's a high end stuff for topping out some stuff that for your hi-hats and snares and stuff like that. And then the final stage is a harder soft clipper to add warm and aggressive tones to your drums. That's reminiscent of vintage analog gear being pushed into the red. This piece of software is $80. So if you need your drums to be fattened and smoothened and analogued,
these are very important techniques for making your drums
absolutely
go. And getting your drums to go is super important. And just like the transient shaper, and it was a similar shaper that first made me interested in the Wave Suite so many years ago. And basically what it does is it just, you've got your attack, and it just basically kind of flattens the top and then increases the size. But it fattens up the kick sound. And this is a chain that everybody's used, or like to make those good kick sounds that really drive a song. It's an effects chain like this. You could do it other ways, but here they're doing it all in one, and they probably have programming that makes it sound nice.
I think that's something I like, is the idea of a one-stop shop sort of EQ compression overdrive thing that's specialized for a particular job. You get, even though you can get presets and stuff in, I use the Studio One EQ all the time, and I love it. But other than the presets and then trying to reverse engineer them, it's a generic EQ. You have to know exactly what the hell you're doing, and post-production is a pain, and anything to make it easier.
Yeah, it's like if you have an effects chain that you always use for your kicks and snares, and it's these 5 things, now you can just dial that up instead of having to bring them all up. Or say you're working on a song with somebody else and they don't have those 5 things that you use. If you were both using this, you could dial those up.
Good point.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool. I like it. I like the idea of it. So yeah, that's our news for today, for these past 2 weeks. Look at that, we nailed them all out, and it's just after 11 Eastern time. So, boom, just in time for bed.
Just the correct amount of tangents.
Indeed. Not a minute more. Not a minute
Yep.
less. Anyway, thank you all so much for hanging out.
I can tell you.
Thanks all for the active chat as always. This is awesome. I love it when people sit around and chit chat and everything like that. Your opponent, why are you apologizing? This is the point of this fucking show, is to chit chat and go off on things.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Thanks for
appreciate
tuning in
you.
and
We
watching
are
and
doing
hanging
this
out.
for you.
Everyone's awesome.
We invite everyone to participate and ask us questions. or
Even
comments.
hoes like your opponent can participate. I'm just saying. So we are going to raid over to.
Hello, Toto Robin.
No, she's not on.
Somebody just commented
Oh,
as
no.
Toto Robin.
Oh, what about Robin?
I said, hello,
Oh, yes.
Toto Robin.
Oh, I'm
'cause she
sorry.
was commenting.
I was like,
Oh yeah, I thought you were calling
yeah, I'm
out
like,
to
no, she's
raid
not on there.
Donald Robin.
Nope.
Hey, Robin, miss you. Let's have you back on the show.
Hey.
Who's going on vacation next?
I'm going on vacation end of November, so probably, could be
All
me.
right.
Are you coming down here?
I'm going to
What's the
Florida
vacation?
after the week after Thanksgiving, and then the last week of December, I'm going to San Diego.
Cool.
Nice.
Well, then we might have to see
Nice.
if Robin wants to join us for one of those shows. I know that
I
Dan
hope so.
Kushner wants to join in for a show as well. Who's
Oh,
he's the guy
cool.
that runs that kind of founded the Golden Shrimp Guild, and he also used to have a show called Gear Splaining that I used to co-host with him. He's a fun guy. He'll come with all kinds of news about Papa John.
Oh,
Yeah,
like his sweatiness and
dampness
stuff.
and his having 30 pizzas, not eating them.
Nice. I think I was either a guest on that show or I was watching that show.
Oh,
that topic
it was
came up, and
it was brought up many times. Oh, and lots of Dune memes and discussions about Dune. We'll do that as well. Hey, have y'all seen Dune? Have you seen?
I have
I've
You've seen it, Jeff? Did you see it?
seen the first half.
The Spite Must Flow.
Yeah.
No.
Chris, you saw it, Christoph? Yeah.
Absolutely. I saw it in a theater, and I recommend seeing it the first time.
I saw
in
it
a theater.
at home safely without people giving me COVID, and
Yeah.
it was beautiful. And honestly, I fucking hated the music.
But when they were doing the scene at the minor, and they were running out and yelling, I thought I can't hear you over
Yeah, I
the
know.
music.
Yeah, Hans Zimmer needs to.
The music is
Hans
loud.
Zimmer needs to fuck off.
So I'm a fan of
I'm
Hans
not.
Zimmer, and Andrew is a Hans Zimmer
Yes.
hater.
I cannot stand Hans Zimmer. The man eats French horns like Giorgio Moroder eats mustaches.
Yeah, but I love French.
You know the thing.
Yeah. Inception is one of the great scores of the
Do you know
last
what
100
irritated
years.
me the most about the Dune soundtrack is there's no themes.
Yeah, that was a conscious choice to be different. than
Well,
Toto.
that's fine, but I mean, it's all meandering and it's forgettable.
Yeah. Well, he was really trying to do more
Yeah,
tonality.
but it's just kind of like
Then,
Blade Runner 2049. Horrible soundtrack.
Well, that was a
Fair.
last-minute save on his point, but it's also similar to another one of his, which was The Dark Knight Rises, where he was trying to do as little
Yeah.
as he could.
Yeah, phoned in 100%. Yep.
Like, just more like, I'm going to have one note or one chord. I'm just gonna let
Especially
that-
after like Blade Runner, where the soundtrack was a character pretty much in the movie, and then you did that to
Yeah.
then Blade Runner 2049 again.
You
Forgettable.
know,
Well,
I feel like yeah, Villeneuve really seems to like Hans Zimmer. I mean, I feel like they should have given someone else a chance. I would have seen like the Survive cats, the ones who did Stranger Things, or bring in somebody new. I mean, come on, enough.
I mean, it was somebody else that was supposed to do the Blade Runner score and did
Yeah.
the score, and then the producers fired them and said, all right, it's not enough of a ripoff
Yeah.
of the old one. So then they brought in Hans Zimmer. I mean, the whole movie was destroyed by committee
Yeah.
thinking. And I think that committee said, nope, it's got to be more like the old one. And they hired him to do a hack job. And it was probably last minute and quick. I don't really blame Hans Zimmer for that one, because so much is wrong with that.
I wish I could hear the soundtrack that the other guy did. I would be very interested because
Yeah,
I can't remember
Yeah.
the guy. I'm tired, so I'm farting on the guy's name. But I love his stuff. He did the soundtrack to Dennis's first movie, to Arrival. And that soundtrack was phenomenal.
Arrival.
It was interesting,
Great.
and it went into all kinds of crazy, interesting places, and it helped tell the story, which is what soundtracks should do. And Johan Johansson, that's the guy's name. And I have some of his classical works, like IBM 1401, A User's Manual, which is an amazing piece of classical music based upon the sounds of fans of an IBM mainframe. Oh, so good. And so the guy was just phenomenal. And unfortunately, he passed away like right around when Blade Runner 2049 came out. But he was a phenomenal composer. Probably one of my favorite modern composers, hands down.
Did he die because he killed himself because he
committed suicide? I'm not sure why, but
that's
possibly because I would imagine. But yeah, he was a phenomenal person whose career ended too soon, I think. And Hans Zimmer, the only good thing about Hans Zimmer is he keeps the French horn industry alive, and
he has a really cool
he's got a nice studio.
I'd like to have.
But yeah, I don't know. Sorry, I know I'm unpopular opinion Andrew here. I'm good at that. I'm not a fan of Hans Zimmer.
All right.
No, I'm with you. I'm on this one. Sorry.
All right. We don't have to agree.
I think he's talented and can do really good work, and usually doesn't.
And I've heard the stuff that he does do, and I'll agree. Your opponent, Interstellar, does have a really good soundtrack, and it was really good, even though it was extremely repetitive. Just like that movie was extremely repetitive. But I don't know. I can't. Like, I've seen so many movies with Hans Zimmer scores, and I can't hum any of them.
You could. I'm sure you could hum Inception.
No, I can't remember any of the music from Inception.
Dun, dun.
Cool.
We're done.
And I don't know. I guess I like licks too much. Thanks, Danny Elfman.
But I mean, I understand though. Like Hans Zimmer, a lot of his scores are kind of generic, but sometimes he does real standout work. I think Interstellar, as mentioned, is a standout work. Inception is a standout work for me, but not for Andrew because it's too much reminiscent of the Batman work. Yeah. And then, he went all drums for the Superman work. It was interesting, but still not enough. But there was another one. Oh, Dunkirk is a very
Dunkirk is a good score. I'll agree with you there.
Because with Dunkirk, he does that. He does a shepherd tone thing, but without using shepherd tones. He does it just with the notes he chooses and the volumes that he uses. Which is brilliant.
Yeah, that was interesting.
So that's because of Christopher Nolan's obsession with that effect, and that's why he uses it for the Batman motorcycle as well.
Yeah, the shepherd tone's fun to play with, definitely.
Yep.
And definitely doesn't make people lose their minds.
All right, y'all. Now we are way over. I'm going to bed. We're going to head over to Sid here, see if he is still there. Let's see if he's still there. Yep, he is. So let's go over and see what the hell he's doing. He's always doing something weird. Anyway, thanks y'all for tuning in. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you in 2 weeks with more original synthesizer news that you won't hear anywhere else but here. Good night. Take care.